Hi, welcome to Budget MTG Decks. All magic fun, all cards under $1. I'm Eliza Buckingham III.
And I'm Beeble.
And today we're going to be looking at all the white cards in Unstable. And we're also going to be looking at all the contraptions in order of the widget. Before we begin though, we'd like to remind you guys that we do have a Patreon page, so if you like what we're doing, you want to help us out, head on over to patreon.com/budgetmtgdecks. For as little as $1 a month, you'd be helping us out immensely.
This guide will help you evaluate cards with limited format, which include draft and sealed. This is still for bullet set, which means it's not legal in any Magic tournaments.
Yeah. We're going to be evaluating the cards according to our 3-tiered system. The best cards of first level is the Golden Narwhal. Those are excellent cards. These are cards that are going to be winning you the games. The unconditional removal. If you pull a card like this, which is a Golden Narwhal, we're going to be pushing to that color. Then we have the Silver Platypus. This card is also very good. If you have a bunch of these, it pushes into that color. And if we're already in that color, it is an auto include. Then we come to the Bronze Squirrel. These are our filler cards. Make sure we fill out our mana curve. If we need a 2-drop, these are the cards. We just look at these cards to make sure that we have a nice, smooth mana curve and we have a drop on every turn. And the rest of the cards are either bad or too situational. We're going to put those aside. So let's get right started with all the common cards.
The first common is Auto Key. It's an artifact contraption, so it means that it has no mana cost. And whenever you crank Auto Key until end of turn, target creature becomes an artifact in addition to its other types and gain 3 life. So, as we said before, all the other reviews, gaining life is not as relevant, so just put it aside because there are a lot better contraptions out there.
Yeah, and if you're right now scratching your head and you're confused, what is a contraption, then have a look at our video where we explain the set of Unstable and we go over all the mechanics, including contraptions and how you play with them. Just a short little recap. The contraptions have no mana cost because they go into a separate contraption library, and every time we assemble a contraption, we get to put it onto the battlefield into one of 3 different locations, and then every turn one of those locations cranks all the contraptions on that row. In this case, for example, then you would get the effect of Auto Key. Then we move on to Applied Aeronautics. That's also a contraption, artifact contraption. It states that whenever we crank this card until the end of turn, target creature gets +1/+0 and gains flying until the end of turn, in addition to becoming an artifact to the end of turn. So this is actually pretty sweet. We're going to put this one in the Bronze Squirrel category because giving something a little bit extra power and evasion means we're going to be able to push through some extra damage, whereas otherwise we probably would not have been able to. Being able to get this effect once every 3 turns is actually pretty sweet.
Yeah, evasion, power pumping, it's just pretty good. Treadmill. It's also a contraption. Whenever you crank Treadmill until end of turn, target creature gets +1/+2 and vigilance and becomes an artifact in addition to its other types. This one isn't as good. It doesn't really get evasion, vigilance, not really that important. So,
bless you.
I'm sorry. So yeah,
you're allergic to bad cards, right?
I am allergic to bad cards. I'm allergic to a Treadmill. Sporting. Blah blah.
Alright, then we move on to Success with an exclamation point. For a single white mana, it's an instant that gives target creature +2/+2 into the end of turn. Then if it is a host or it has been augmented, it gains lifelink until end of turn. Okay, so in essence, that chance that it's going to be a host or is going to be an augmented card is going to be fairly small. But let's just say it's just +2/+2 for 1 white. That's a fine combat trick. I say Bronze Squirrel because yeah, it's not really unconditional removal. It's not even conditional removal, but as a combat trick, it will allow you to do some stuff.
It's only 1 white and instant speed, so that's nice.
Yeah.
Next one, Adorable Kitten. It's a white, it's a 1/1 host creature cat, and like we said before, if you haven't seen our recap explanation yet, look at it. Yeah. But yeah, you can, it's an end of a battlefield trigger. When he enters the battlefield, roll a 6-sided die, you gain life equal to the result. It's like we said before already, life gain, not as good, and it's an adorable kitten. You don't want it to die, so you put it aside and keep it safe.
Yeah. Exactly. Then we move on to Go to Jail for a single white. It's an enchantment, and it states that when this card enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls until this card leaves the battlefield. Okay, and then at the beginning, so that's awesome. That's incredible unconditional removal. Then at the beginning of the upkeep of the exiled card's owner, that player rolls 2 six-sided die. So basically the creature who you exiled, whoever's the owner of that creature, that person's going to roll 2 dice. And then they're going to have a look. If they are double, then we're going to sacrifice the enchantment, and then they're going to get that creature back. But, you know, the chance of that is fairly small that it happens. It's essentially unconditional removal for 1 white mana, and that is incredibly powerful. We're going to put this as a golden narwhal, and rightly so, I think.
Yeah, it's so good. It's a common 1 mana exiled creature. Okay, maybe they will get it back like in a couple turns if they're really lucky next turn, but how big are the chances?
Very small. Awesome card.
Old God, 1 and a white. It's a 2/1 cyborg soldier artifact creature. For 1 white, tap, and you can tap target creature without reminder text. So that's actually important. You have to like look at other people's tech boxes and it's like, is that reminder text? Oh, then I can tap it. So, and a lot of things will have reminder text because there are a lot of weird rules and weird interactions in this set. Yeah. So it's not that great in that sense, but still it's a bronze scroll because it's a 2/1 for 2.
Yeah, it can always be a fine filler in that position.
Exactly, and it has a bit of upside.
But the chance is so small. Plus also the problem with having to look at reminder text is that it's in italics. And flavor text is also in italics, which really does not help the ability to evaluate the board state for this card.
Exactly. I was looking at which things had reminder text, and I was always confused with the flavor text.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. And as you said already, there's a lot of cards that are going to have reminder text because it's a complicated new set. Yeah. Then we have Amateur Auteur for 1 and a white. So for 2 mana, we get a 2/2 creature human. So that's a bronze squirrel right there. And also, we're going to sacrifice this thing to destroy target enchantment. So it's got a cool little upside as well. I mean, they might not have it, but it doesn't matter because a 2/2 for 2 is always fine. I play this all day long. Bronze squirrel.
Exactly. Ordinary Pony, 2 and a white. It's a 2/3 host creature horse. And when it enters the battlefield, you may exile target non-horse creature you control, and then return it to the battlefield on its owner's control. It will give something pseudo-vigilance, some enter battlefield trigger will trigger again, so it's never a bad thing to flicker something. And for 3 mana, 2/3, it's also pretty decent, and that's why with flickering I put it in Silver Platypus.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you may say, oh, but it can't flicker itself, but it also says you may, so you don't even have to. So it's all upside, good fine body with the potential for those. There's a lot of enter the battlefield abilities as well. Yeah. So especially if you're going host, like with these cards, then that's definitely Silver Platypus. Absolutely. Then we move on to Riveting Rigger for 2 and a white. So for 3 mana, we get a 2/2 cyborg rigger. So we know because it has rigor in the creature type, it means that it's going to be assembling contraption. So let's have a look. It says, when Riveting Rigger enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another artifact. Okay, so you don't have to. And it also can't actually sacrifice itself. Then, if you do, put 2+1/+1 counters on this guy and assemble a contraption. So what most likely you'll be able to do with this card is either it comes in for 3 mana, it's a 2/2 because you played it early game. It's okay, nothing to write home about, but it's also not bad. But late game, when you have contraptions, when you have other artifacts, and maybe small ones that have outlived their usefulness, then this one will be a 4/4 and will allow you to get a contraption, either replacing the one you destroyed, or maybe if you let a small artifact creature die, then you've got an extra contraption there. So I think that's actually pretty decent. It does something early, it does something late, but what it does is not always fantastic, so that means we're going to put it in the bronze squirrel category.
Yeah, you have to... extra reminder: the contraptions are on the battlefield when you when you assemble them.
Yeah.
Sacrifice play. It's 2 and a white instant. A person outside the game chooses an attacking or blocking creature and target opponent controls. The player sacrifices that creature. So you have to ask someone else to pick something. They may not always listen to you, but you should ask a friend. Yeah. And so it will destroy the best thing. For 3 mana, instant speed, that's pretty good. Silver Platypus.
Yeah, unless they choose the worst thing.
That's what I said. You should ask a friend.
Exactly. But ask a friend or someone you can bribe easily. Yeah. Then we move on to Shaggy Camel for 3 and a 4, 3 and a 4, 3 and a white. We've got, so for 4 mana, we have a 3/3 camel, so the body's already fine for that mana cost. As well, when it enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+1 until the end of turn. So this is the typical card that you would play in your first main phase, whereas of course normally you play cards in your second main phase, but this is a good one to play in your first main phase, so your attacking creatures have the added bonus. Pretty decent. I think the body's good for what it does. The enter the battlefield ability, that's also okay, fine. Bronze Squirrel, just not good enough to bring it over the edge.
Yeah. Next one, it's the first augment card we see. It's a humming creature bird. It gives something flying, and whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, then the enter battlefield trigger of the host creature triggers again, and his augment for 3 and a white. It can only augment as a sorcery, and it gets +2/+3. So whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, something happens. It gets something to +2/+3 and flying, which is actually pretty good. But yeah, it's not getting better than Bronze Squirrel because you need a host, and it's still 4 mana, so
you can still get 2 for 1.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a very powerful effect. The evasion, the added power and toughness, the fact that you can relatively easily make sure that the triggered effect of the host happens. But we just can't bring it higher than Bronze Squirrel because because it also has so much downside.
Exactly, and you want to attack with this, but the thing is, it will not always trigger. So you have to have another one that you can attack with, and if you don't want to attack with, then you don't trigger it. So that's why Bronze Squirrel.
Yeah, it's a light Bronze Squirrel. Then we have a Chivalrous Cavalier for 4 and a white. It gives us a 3/3 flyer, so I'm always very happy to have 3 power and toughness in the air. And also when it enters the battlefield, return a creature you control to its owner's hand unless you complement an opponent. Now this is a very nice card. I love this. I'm putting this right away. Silver Platypus. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I think I would always try and play. So I've got a bunch of these, then that pushes me into white. Why? Because also you're able to return something back, maybe something that has got a bad enchantment on it, or something which you can recast again to get to enter the battlefield ability. And of course you don't have to. You can just say to your opponent, you can just say, hey, nice shirt. Just something very simple. You don't have to go all out and compliment the structure of their face or try and get all fancy by giving them a backhanded compliment. Just say, nice shirt, nice shoes. There's always something you can compliment. So it's actually all upside.
Yeah.
Those are the common cards. Let's have a look at the uncommon cards. The first of our uncommons once again starts with a contraption. Gnome Ball Machine, of course a nice little play on those gumball machines that you have. It is an artifact contraption, and it says so whenever you crank this card, create 2 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature tokens. So that's pretty cool. So every 3 turns we're going to be getting 2 little tokens that we use to attack with or to block with. Pretty decent. The thing is, 1/1s don't really impact the game that much later in the game, and the thing with contraptions is that you're only really going to be getting these effects a little bit later in the game, because of course you first need to be able to get a card which assembles a contraption before you're going to be able to assemble the contraption, and then of course you got to wait till your upkeep again before you get to crank it so that you're able to get the effect. So it's always going to take a little bit longer. You can't really have this early, and the question is really how much effect are those 1/1 gnome tokens going to do later on in the game. So it's still a Bronze Squirrel though, because those bodies, they'll at least for chump blocking, they're okay.
Yeah, the thing is, like, it's kind of free chump blocker, so which helps you not die, so that's nice. And every 3 turns you'll get it again and again and again. So yeah, it's not great, but still a Bronze Squirrel.
Yeah.
Optical Optimizer. It's a contraption, and whenever you crank Optical Optimizer until end of turn, target creature becomes artifact in addition to its other types, and gains tap, draw a card. Silver Platypus. Drawing cards is great. Every 3 turns drawing a card. You know what? Sure. Even if you draw 1 card out of it, it's already fine. Yeah. You have to tap a creature. It's not that bad.
But you'll have targets, because you'll have stuff that no longer can attack efficiently anymore later on in the game anyway.
Exactly. So, Silver Platypus, play this card, draw cards.
Yeah, nice. Then we have Widget Contraption. It states that whenever you crank this guy, it assembles a contraption. Pretty nice. So once you got this guy on the battlefield, every 3 turns we're going to be getting another thing, which is being able to repeatedly create or assemble contraptions is going to be very strong. I think it's going to be a very nice, powerful effect, and I think this is a great enabler. I would always try and play this card, Silver Platypus.
Yeah, exactly. You want more contraptions, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
Next one is Gimme 5. It's a white instant. You gain 1 life for each person you who high fives you in the next 30 seconds. Each player in a silver bullet game.
Everybody who also high fives you also is going to gain life. So it's basically you're going to get, let's say you high five 10 people, you're going to get 10 life, and each one of those 10 people are also going to gain 1 life in their game. Yeah. So it has to be, remember, it has to be people who are in a game at that point in time. You can't just high five random people on the street.
Well, no, it doesn't matter, because you can high five people random in the streets, but they won't gain life for it.
No, that's true. Okay.
So
fair enough.
Yeah. So that's how you can get a lot of high fives to say you get lives too, but still life gain not that relevant. Just put it aside. You have 30 seconds. It will disrupt other games.
I don't care about that.
Okay, whatever.
But the point is that it's just a card that gains you life, so that just doesn't change the board state, which we already discussed. Cards that only just gain you life without doing anything else are not good. Put it aside.
Put it aside.
Next card is Side Quest for single white. It's a sorcery, and it states that target player in a silver bordered game that you can see from your seat. You gotta look around. You gotta see somebody else playing a game. They're gonna take control of target creature you control until the end of your next turn. So basically, if you play this now, and it's gone, so you play it at the end of your turn, your second main phase. Then that creature goes away. Then by the time it's your turn again, you're gonna get it, and of course you're gonna put 2+1/+1 counters on that creature. It also states that a creature is on the battlefield of only the game its controller is playing, so it would once again have to enter the battlefield. If it doesn't have haste, you can't attack with it right away. So it is bigger. It went on a little side quest. It got some experience, but it could also have died in that other game, and then it doesn't come back. Well, it goes to your graveyard.
Yeah, that's a bit sad.
Do you want to run that risk of somebody taking good care of your creature while it's on a side quest?
So don't go on the side quest.
Dangerous.
Stay on your main quest.
Dangerous. Yeah. Focus. Eyes on the prize.
Next one's Teacher's Pet. It's 1 and a white. It's a 2/1 cat bird scientist. For 2 and a white, sacrifice Teacher's Pet. Search your library for a card with augment. Combine with target host you control. Then shuffle your library. So if you have a lot of host and augment cards you want to play, that's really nice. But still, you're probably not going to use it. And if you're not going to use it, what's it then? It's still a bond scroll because it's a 2/1 for 2.
Yeah. Still on curve. Still fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Not as exciting.
I don't expect the ability to trigger very often. Then we move on to Knight of the Kitchen Sink for 2 white mana. So for 2 mana, it's a 2/2 Cyborg Knight with first strike and protection from black borders. Now we're going to be drafting this by itself. The set, it only has 1 black bordered card. Steamflogger Boss. So once again, chances of you're seeing it, a black bordered card, are second to none. Well, almost non-existent. So I would just say 2/2 first strike, still pretty good. Bronze Squirrel.
Yeah. I mean, for 2 mana, 2/2 first strike, that's really good. Knight of the Widget. 2 and a white. It's a Cyborg Knight XX Vigilance. Knight of the Widget's power toughness are equal to the number of order of widget watermarks among permanents you control. And remember, contraptions have watermarks. But how many will you have of the order of the widget? I don't think enough, and just put aside, because you need to have it, and if you don't, it's only a 1/1.
Yeah, and the ability of vigilance is not gonna win you any games.
Just put it aside.
Then we have Half Kitten Half. It is a creature cat augment card, which gives the creature that it's augmenting, the host creature, +1 and +2. And additionally, the triggered ability is going to be whenever you're dealt damage, and then the host creature will do whatever it says it will do. So put it aside. Augment cost is 3 mana. For the effect, I think, I don't know. It's tricky. These host cards need to be really, really good. Sorry, not these hosts. These augment cards need to be really, really strong, really, really good for me to want to include them, because they're so picky on who they're able to enchant, let's say, and also the fact that you can get 2 for 1 and the cost you got to pay for it. You may think in a situation, Magical Christmas Land, you've played this on a host creature. The host creature is really strong. It's for example a card that allows you to draw a card every time. So then whenever you're dealt damage with this card, you draw a card. So then people might not want to attack you. You can say, well, if I attack them and they're dealt damage, then they're going to draw a card. But the point is that in a situation where you're losing and they just need to attack you to kill you, then they're just going to do it anyway. And I don't think this is going to stop enough. It'll stop some, but no, I think it's too risky. Too risky.
The upside is not enough. Just
No.
no. The next one, it's also an augment. It's a rhino, and whenever the creature blocks, it gets something.
Ability, yeah.
And it's a +1/+4, and it's augment for 3 and a white. So 4 mana gets +1/+4, and it does something when it's blocked, like David just said, the whole spiel, and then just put it aside.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly the same as the other thing. Which I think is actually, this one's even worse. We have a disagreement on this.
Yeah, I think actually better than the kitty cat, because if you're just gonna attack anyways, and then you can block with this, which then gives you value. But yeah,
I think the cat has more value because you can attack, and then people will not want to attack even if you would have blockers, because, for example, if they had evasion creatures, which you wouldn't be able to block with the rhino, they still won't attack you because of the triggers when they deal damage. So they will refuse to attack you even with things which have evasion, whereas if you have the rhino, they can still attack you with creatures with evasion because you won't be able to block them. So that's my logic. But they're both bad, so put them aside. Then we have Aerial Toastmaster for 3 and a white. It's a 3/2 flying cyborg rigger. So that means he's going to make a contraption. And for 3 and a white, it's got the ability. We're going to sacrifice another artifact, so it can't sacrifice itself. And then we're going to be assembling a contraption. So we can either do one or two things, either smaller artifacts that we don't use anymore. We're going to be able to sacrifice them to assemble contraptions, or we can get rid of an existing contraption and replace it with a new contraption. Because, of course, contraptions which are assembled are artifacts on the battlefield. But still, it's also just a 3/2 flyer, which is just also really, really good. So this has got silver platypus written all over it.
It's a silver platypus on its own, and it can make other artifacts into contraptions. So just, yeah, play it.
Very powerful.
Midlife Upgrade. 3 and a white sorcery as an additional cost to cast Midlife Upgrade. Sacrifice X contraptions, and then assemble X+1 contraptions. So you have to have contraptions, you have to sacrifice them, then you can make more. And how many contraptions will you have? And for 4 mana, is it enough? And I don't think so, and just put it aside.
Yeah, exactly. Well, those are the last of the uncommons. Let's have a look at the rares.
The first rare is Duplication Device. It's a contraption, and when you crank Duplication Device until end of turn, target creature becomes a copy of any creature on the battlefield, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. This is pretty cool because you can change a small thing of yours into the biggest thing on the battlefield, but you can also change someone else's creature into the smallest thing on the battlefield. So that's actually really cool.
Super versatile.
Yeah. So Silver Platypus, always play this.
Yeah, the thing what keeps it out of the range of Golden Narwhal is the fact that it's only going to happen once every 3 turns.
Yeah.
I mean, if this would be a repeatable effect every single turn, then that would be Golden Narwhal all the time. But because it's going to take only once every 3 turns, that definitely keeps it within the Silver Platypus area. Speaking of Golden Narwhal, we have Record Store. It's also a contraption. It says whenever you crank Record Store, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of artifacts you control, and then put one of those cards into your hand and the rest at the bottom of your library in any random order. Okay, so let's say even if we just have 2 artifacts, let's say, we've got this one plus an artifact creature or whatever, we look at the top 2 cards, we're going to be scrying 2, and then we're also going to be drawing a card, which is, of course, super nice. The fact that it always is going to be drawing you that card is very strong, and I would say put it in the Golden Narwhal area, maybe low Golden Narwhal, because again, it also only gives you that effect once every 3 turns. But later as well in the game, it's going to become even more powerful. The effect, it becomes cumulatively more powerful because of all the extra artifacts you will have on the battlefield, and then it just gets out of control, being able to dig so strongly through your deck to get that card that you need to win the game. And when we talk about limited, being able to dig for those good strong cards you've got is very important, because unlike in constructed where everything is good, in limited you just won't not everything will be good. Some of it will just be filler cards.
Yeah. And you have to remember that if you only have the Record Store, it's still drawing you a card. Still every turn you draw a card.
Yeah.
So of every 3 turns, that's so good. So it's good on its own, and it's only better when you have more artifacts.
Yeah, sure.
Next one is Jack Knight. It's 1 and a white. It's a 1/1 artifact cyborg knight, and Whenever another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Jack Knight, and if that artifact is a contraption, Jack Knight gains lifelink until end of turn. Making contraptions will benefit this highly, and white has a lot of artifact creatures, so playing white is also really good, but you really need to have this one early and then play a lot of things afterwards, and I don't think that's like that great, so that's why Pawn Squirrel, because it's still probably a 2/2.
It'll be a 2/2 for 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's it. So it's just a filler card. Don't expect anything more from it. Then we have By No Means for 2 and a white. It's an enchantment. It states that we can pay a generic and a white. So for 2 mana, we can also remove a counter from a permanent you control and then create a 1/1 colorless gnome artifact creature token. Okay. And then also we can pay the same cost to sacrifice an artifact and choose any kind of counter a printed card refers to, and then put one of that counter on target permanent. So it basically allows us to put counters on stuff and then remove counters to create goblins, and those goblins we can sacrifice to put counters, and those counters we can again sacrifice to put gnomes. So that's basically how the circle goes. But I think it's a little bit too many hoops to jump through to do something, because you still require another card which actually has something to do with counters. If you don't have that, then you're up the creek with no paddle. So I would say put this card aside.
Yeah, and it's already 3 mana and not doing anything at the moment.
Yeah, bad card.
Oddly Uneven. 3 and 2 whites, this is sorcery, choose one. Destroy each creature with an odd number of words in its name. And remember, hyphenated words are 1 word. And destroy each creature with an even number of words in its name. So it will take 5 minutes before you've thought about, okay, which mode are we going to use? But still Silver Platypus, because removal is removal.
It's actually kind of like a board wipe.
It is kind of like a board wipe.
It's kind of like a board wipe, yeah. So, and that's of course always very powerful in limited games.
Yeah.
Then we move on to a very wordy card, Rules Lawyer for 3 and 2 white. So for 5 mana, we get a 1/1 Cyborg Advisor. So you may think, okay, 5 mana, 1/1, this thing better have a good ability. And it sure does. The ability is state-based actions don't apply to you or permanents you control, which essentially means...
Other permanents.
Sorry, other, yeah, very important.
Which means it will apply to Rules Lawyer.
Yeah, so what's very important to remember is that basically we can't lose the game as long as this guy's on the battlefield. Our creatures can't die. Our creatures can't have anything done to them except they can still be exiled. But all of that stuff still applies to Rules Lawyer. So Rules Lawyer can still die in combat, can still get removed. So basically keep Rules Lawyer safe and you essentially can't really lose the game anymore.
Yeah, exactly. 0 toughness won't kill it, and everything, and damage won't kill it.
Death touch, nothing will kill stuff.
Yeah, stuff that you
permanents you control,
exactly.
Other than Rules Lawyer. So keep Rules Lawyer safe, essentially because this is such an incredibly powerful card. We're gonna have to put this in strongly into the Golden Narwhal territory.
And you can't lose.
Nope.
That were the rares. Let's look at the mythics. The first mythic is Rapid Prototyper. It's a contraption, and whenever you crank Rapid Prototyper, create an XX colorless construct artifact creature token, where X is the number of artifacts you control. So if you only have this one, it will be a 1/1, and then next over in 3 turns you will get something else. It will be bigger because you're playing more contraptions, you're playing more artifact creature more likely. So yeah, it's a Silver Platypus. It's not Golden Narwhal because you'll probably have around like 3 artifacts most of the time, so every 3 turns you get a 3/3, which is actually not bad at all.
Yeah, but not going to be winning you the game.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, I agree with that. Then we move on to Do-It-Yourself Seraph. So if we look at how many words this is 2 words, because it's the 3 words in the middle are hyphenated. So 2 words. For 4 and 2 whites, we get 6 mana. It is a 4/4 flying cyborg angel. Now, if something is cool, it's going to be a cyborg angel. Am I right? And of course, the simple fact that it is a 4/4 flyer for 6 means that this thing is already going to be winning you games in limited. Let's have a look at the ability. When this guy attacks, we may search your library for an artifact card. We're going to exile it and then shuffle our library. Then Do-It-Yourself Seraph has the text box of each card exiled by do-it-yourself serif in addition to its own. So essentially every turn we're going to be attacking with it. Every turn it's going to be gaining an additional ability from the text box of whichever artifact we are exiling. Remember, we have to exile artifacts from our own library. We cannot exile them from our contraption library, which is different. Otherwise, of course, though, well, it still wouldn't work because we have to crank contraptions. So, but just remember,
talked about this.
They have to be from our regular library. This is definitely Golden Narwhal, wins you games, and of course, it only gets better as the game progresses.
Exactly. Even if it didn't have anything else than the 4/4 flying, it's already winning you games, and now it has upside.
Pretty sweet.
Exactly.
Those are the mythics. Let's have a look at the conclusion. In conclusion, White has, of course, strong cards and weak cards as it usually does. I think some of the strengths are the flyers and the removal cards, and I think some of the weaknesses are the fact that all the creatures are also artifacts, and people are going to be mainboarding artifact removal because they're expecting you to have contraptions, and of course in this case White will also be able to get their creatures destroyed, with a lot of creatures destroyed with artifact hate. So I guess if we're going to have to give it a score, we're going to go Roman numerals. If IV is really good and X is really bad, and then IX be like about average, what kind of a score would we give it?
Probably around a 24.
I think 24 sounds about good. All right, so now we're going to remind you guys that we do have a Patreon page. So if you like the channel, you want to help us out, go head on over to patreon.com/budgetmtgdecks. We'd really appreciate it. Also, subscribe to us here on YouTube for the most powerful decks and device everyone can afford. And of course, if you do, don't forget to hit the little bell button so you get reminded when a new video comes out. Well, thanks for watching. I'm Eliza Buckingham III.
I'm Beeble.
And this was Budget MTG Decks.